Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Ne0 Gets to Know, this series where I interview players, pros from all over the world, every different scene. Of course, today I am joined by CS:GO professional Phzy. Now, brother, first of all, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Thank you for coming on. I know you've had a very busy schedule, but we'll start right back at the start. What is your journey into CS:GO? How did you go? Kind of when did you get introduced to video games, and how did that lead to you then becoming a professional CS:GO player? Essentially, what's your story?
I started when I was very young, playing
Hmm.
Game Boy, like Pokemon, all those kind of games.
Classic, classic.
Um, Led to me getting a computer.
Hmm.
Mainly, I think, because I wanted to start playing Minecraft with my friends from school.
Nice.
Then it moved on to other games like Team Fortress,
Hmm.
Dota, and then I saw some of my friends on Steam started playing this game called CS:GO.
Okay.
And also, my dad actually played it as well. So
Right.
he introduced me to it kind of when I was like 11,
Hmm.
but I didn't get to play it yet because of my mom. She wanted me to wait until I was 12.
Okay.
So
Right.
I sat behind my dad and watched him play for like a year, and then I started playing myself.
So, how does your dad feel now that kind of he was the one who showed you the game, he was the one who introduced you to CS:GO, and now you're a professional? I mean, I'm sure he probably feels quite proud.
Yeah, he's very supportive. It's very nice. Feels great to have that support from my family as well. So yeah.
And what drew you to CS:GO over other games? You know, you mentioned Steam. There's like Dota, League are pretty popular as well. What drew you to kind of CS:GO? I like FPS games in general, rather than kind of your MOBAs or other esports.
Yeah, I've always liked FPS games, starting with Team Fortress.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just really liked it. I got kind of hooked right from the start, like playing with my friends,
Hmm.
playing matchmaking, trying to rank up.
Classic. Yeah.
Then introduced to Face It, trying to rank up there as well, just constantly,
Hmm.
yeah, trying to be better.
Love it, love it. So let's talk about kind of where you first started to become a sort of a more of a household name within CS:GO. Young Ninjas. That was kind of where I think you really started to come onto the scene. You started to prove yourself as being kind of this young Swedish star coming out of nowhere. How did that opportunity come about? I know before you're known within the UK scene. I first heard of you within the UK scene, but how did Young Ninjas come about?
I mean, NIP wanted to start an academy project. At the time, I was mixing a lot of Swedish tournaments,
Hmm.
Nordic tournaments, and international tournaments as well, with a mix called Flowskola. It was
Nice.
me, Joel, and Chauncey, who later joined
Yeah, very decent
Galaxy
roster
Racer,
actually. Yeah,
and Ne0, who also
yeah. Hmm.
joined Young Ninjas, of course.
Okay.
So I think kind of from there, mostly they noticed me, um, and yeah, just I think we played Frag League, one Frag League versus SJ, Lyngby Vikings, and
Yes.
those
Yeah.
teams at the time as just a mix. So we got quite a bit of eyes on us,
Hmm.
at least in the Swedish scene. After that, so I think from mostly there, then of course Young Ninjas,
Hmm.
and yeah.
And of course, when they reached out to you and they're kind of saying, okay, we want to start this project, we want kind of you to be one of those names brought in. Was it a case of they wanted you immediately in the roster, or was there a trial process, seeing whether you actually were kind of what the player they were looking for?
Yeah, there was a bit of a trial process, mostly like interviews,
Okay.
all those kind of stuff, with both, yeah, interviews and those kind of stuff, and then also in the game a little bit.
For sure. And in those interviews, kind of what a Nip looking for? Like, I mean, that's something that you don't really get to to hear about just as a regular watcher. What kind of were the questions they were asking about? Was it kind of you as a person, what your goals are, what were they looking for?
Yeah, I mean, mostly I would guess that they would want like just young people, of
Hmm.
course, who really wants this, like who really wants to do this as this as a profession,
For sure.
and are ready to put in the time and to grind. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. And of course, kind of one of the big tournaments that where young ninjas were competing was the We Play Academy League, and of course, you have you know all too well about it. How important do you think that kind of We Play Academy League is for kind of breeding the next generation of CS:GO players, essentially?
It's super important, very important, and that's also something I realized when I maybe we'll get to that later, but when I played with NIP for a while as
Yeah.
well, like so professionally ran by WePlay, you kind of get a feeling of how tier one is, right?
For sure.
So doing that beforehand, it felt like I wasn't as uncomfortable as maybe I would have been if I didn't play WePlay. So yeah, definitely a very nice experience.
That
Very
makes
important.
sense. And I get this is another question that a lot of people kind of ask and consider when it comes to those people who participate within the We Play Academy League. Does it ever annoy you when you were part of Young Ninjas that you couldn't compete in some tournaments because of, you know, for example, let's say the RMR qualifier recently, a lot of those academy sides weren't able to compete because, you know, the team one is already part of the major. For you, when you were kind of grinding through Young Ninjas, did it ever kind of frustrate you that you could only play certain tournaments, or only play academy leagues, or you couldn't participate in some tournaments because maybe the first team was involved in some way?
Yeah, no, it actually never annoyed me. It was something I knew from the start, obviously. Something that I was ready for that.
For sure.
Of course, it's very nice now to be able to play all those qualifiers, and it's something that is very important if you want to take the next step, so to say.
That's it.
But yeah, no, it didn't annoy me, and yeah.
You're sort of happy grinding in kind of like those ones getting the experience, and of course the experience led you to joining NIP, the first team. You played on that and on them for a decent stint. How did that come about, and sort of how did it feel as well, being from the country to represent arguably the biggest organization coming out of Sweden?
Yeah, I mean, it feels great, of course. It was such a nice feeling. Ever since I started playing CS, I've always been a fan of NIP, and especially the old roster with Freiberg, Forrest, Get Right, all those legendary names, right? So being a part of that, it's obviously a huge deal. Even though I was basically only standing in, right? But still, it's yeah, something I was really proud of, or I'm really proud of, yeah.
And how did it sort of come about? Was it a case of course, we knew that sort of Device was stepping away for a bit, and of course there was kind of openings within the roster. Was it a case of kind of management spoke to you and were like, okay, we're not going to kind of bring in an external person. We want to kind of use this young talent, and we want you to come through? Or was there, you know, for NIP, were they trialing other people, and then you ended up just being the best choice for the role?
Well, it started with IEM Winter, where I think Device couldn't play in the middle of the tournament.
Yeah,
so they played until the semifinals, I believe. And like on 1 day notice, I came up to Stockholm because it was in Stockholm. At least that was good.
Yeah, exactly.
So I came up there and played a semifinal of that. So at first I didn't really have a chance to take in another player, I would say.
For sure.
But yeah, then I continued playing with them.
I'm be honest with you. Were you a little bit nervous? You know, for you, that's a big step. And you mentioned very, very short notice. Were you nervous, or was it kind of more excitement? Do you not feel nervous, or how are you?
No, I wasn't. I wouldn't say I was nervous at all, to be honest. In the first tournament, at least, because it was so short notice. I don't think anyone expected anything really. Me neither, and I don't think the team did either. But we did manage to win that semifinal, but we lost in the final, unfortunately. But yeah, I wasn't nervous that tournament, at least. As I said, no really expectations. I was just really, really happy to just play.
And that sort of pretty brilliantly follows on to my kind of next thing about when you made that step up in towards tier one. Of course, it's a huge step up, and you're still a young guy, right? Were those expectations of kind of you as a player? Did they ever kind of feel like a burden? Did you ever kind of feel the pressure of, especially when you were part of that team for a little bit of a while? Did you ever start to kind of feel the pressure, basically, of the expectations? I kind of, you know, NIP always want to be considered as one of the best teams, and always want to be competing to be the best. Did you ever feel the pressure of those expectations?
Uh, no, it was mostly pressure from myself, I would say.
Okay.
I wanted to perform much better than I did, and I know I can perform much better than I did in NIP. So no, I wouldn't really say there was a lot of outside pressure and not a lot of pressure from NIP. It was mostly pressure from myself, and yeah.
For sure, that makes sense. And of course, we can talk about the recent news as well of you joining Sangal. It's a year-long loan from what we've understood, and of course, I think it's Sensei's away work for 9 months. If I'm right in saying you're standing in for a year, how did that opportunity come about? Because I think for a few people, myself included, it was a little bit kind of a curveball there. I never would have expected Sangal.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, they needed an upper. There's not a lot of Swedish teams right now, and especially not a lot of Swedish teams that need an upper.
For sure.
So yeah, it was a natural step for me to go international, and Sangal was an option, and I thought they looked great. Got to the last RMR,
Of course.
and yeah.
I guess the big news as well, as of literally a couple of days ago, you have made it to the RMR. You're going to Malta. I mean, how does that feel? You've just joined the team. You're kind of the fresh face on Sangal, and you've already qualified. You finished second seed overall in the third RMR, only losing to Eternal Fire in that last best one. But even still, you already made it. I mean, how does that feel?
Feels very, very good. Something I've dreamed of is always playing a major even. Of course, you want to win one too, but
Sure.
gotta take it a step at a time. And this is the first step to that, so it feels very great.
And then now, what's the goals with this Sangal team? Let's just talk in the year scope that you're on loan. You know, you're looking towards the major. Then there's some big tournaments probably afterwards with Sangal. You'd look to try and run for those open qualifiers. You know, Rotterdam's coming up soonish. For Sangal in terms of the RMR and then the big tournaments following suit, what are the goals? What are Sangal trying to do for it? Is Rio the expectation, or is it just trying to do as best as you can?
The goal was more qualifying to the RMR. Now after that, obviously the goal is to go to Rio, of course.
Sure.
I would love to go to Brazil and also go to the major, of course. So that's the next goal. Preparing a lot for that. Also got some other qualifiers and tournaments coming up. Just trying to do our best as possible for right now. I mean, we're still a very young and very new roster with me in addition, so there's a lot of learning to do, a lot of things that I can bring as well, I feel like. So I think we will just get a lot better over time. But right now, just try to do our best as we can do.
Love to see it, love to see it. And of course, with that RMR coming around and a new team, does the org kind of have any expectations for you guys? Or are they very much kind of hands off and allowing you to kind of just do your own thing, since, as you mentioned, you are very new to the roster?
Yeah, I mean, the expectations, I don't think, from the org weren't like very high from the start. Qualifying for the RMR, obviously, as I said, was a goal of ours. But yeah,
they're not putting too much pressure on you, basically.
No,
That's
not now from the start.
And as you mentioned, you had to look international, and you've had already very, very quickly had success when you've looked international. Is that potentially something that you're going to look towards in the future as well? Let's say, kind of looking towards international rosters, maybe even tier 1 international rosters?
I mean, potentially. I don't have any issues at all speaking English or communicating English in game, and I think, yeah, it's always a door open for me. So,
exactly. What would your preference be? Would your preference for you to be in an international team at like the top level, or a Swedish team at the top level?
My preference would be to play in the best team in the world, whether that's Swedish or international. Yeah.
Fair enough. I respect it, of course. And with NIP, they're a very sort of a historic org. Was it tough for you to sort of consider offers and kind of look elsewhere? Like Sangal, who, granted, they're a pretty decent team, but I think the history around Sangal is nowhere near as big as it is NIP. For you, was it kind of different to kind of step away from a very historically big org like NIP, and then of course kind of still feel motivated when playing for Sangal, who aren't quite as big as NIP?
Yeah, no, not at all. I think, I mean, even though I played a lot of tier 1 for quite a while, I don't think I'm at that level yet, or at least I haven't shown that I'm at that level yet. So it was quite obvious for me that I would have to go to a lower ranked team, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think Sangal is the perfect fit. Very very hungry players, very good individually players, and yeah, I think we can definitely become very good.
Fair enough. And this is only a year-long loan, right? This is kind of how things are working for the time being. Do you have any sort of idea or plan what's going to happen afterwards? Is there even a conversation around potentially staying with Sangal just due to how successful you guys are looking? Or for you, is it kind of going back and trying to figure out your next step?
Yeah, no, I haven't thought about it at all
Okay.
yet. It's we just began now with Sangal, of course. Hopefully we can show ourselves, become even better, and if we do, then yeah, I mean, yeah, I haven't really thought about it at all.
Nice. Okay.
No.
Is there a potential that you could stay on longer than a year? And I know a few people were sort of wondering that if you are successful, which so far is already so good, you qualify for the RMR. Is there a potential that if this stint with you for a year here ends up being super successful, really good, Sangal start finding new heights they haven't in a long time, that you stay on and you get a contract that's not just a year, maybe a couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens.
Fair enough, fair enough. So I wanted to ask you kind of on the more sort of personal side. So for you, who do you think is sort of the best player that you've ever played with?
That's very hard to
you've
say.
Played with a lot of decent players, yeah.
It's very hard to say. One player that is very underrated that I played with is Tag.
Okay.
I really enjoy playing with Tag.
Sure.
It's really one like he's really a player that you want to have in your team. Very easy to play with. Always helps out in tough situations in game. Always comes up with ideas. And yeah, that's I think that's who
you're most underrated.
Who I'd like to mention.
Yeah, fair enough. And for you coming through, of course, you already mentioned that legendary Nip side. Who was your inspiration when you started grinding CS:GO? You started kind of, going on the path to pro. Who for you was that inspiration coming through? Was there like one particular player who you're like, I just want to do what they do?
Yeah, it was. I really like Freiburg.
Of course.
Mostly it started because we're both from a small town outside of Gothenburg.
Okay, right.
With like 10,000 people, so we're from the same town there. So obviously have some local love shared.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was kind of a hero for me when I was growing up.
Fair enough. And kind of on that sort of topic, who is there a certain player or a coach or someone that for you has been so like taught you a lot, kind of taught you about, especially when you made that step towards tier 1 as well? I mean, it is a big jump. So was there someone that was really good in terms of giving you advice, how to improve, or a coach that really kind of improved your level?
Yeah, I mean both Threat and DGL helped me a lot to improve. Also, I remember as a tag, we were gonna play Dust 2, and in Young Ninjas, it was a permaban. So for 1.5 years, I hadn't really played Dust 2. So we watched a lot of demos together before. I think it was Blast in Copenhagen.
Okay, all right. So
he also helped me quite a bit.
Nice. And on the other side, who would you say is sort of the hardest opponent you've ever played against? Who's the kind of one individual that you just remember, you just couldn't beat them?
VP was very hard.
Okay.
I think they're very hard to play against. They play pretty different, I'd say.
Right.
Yeah, and obviously Yakinder in that roster as well.
Just insane.
Very hard.
Yeah. For when you made that step towards tier 1, what kind of for you was your best memory of it? Of course, it's a huge opportunity and it's kind of a dream for all our players. What for you was your best opportunity in your stint in tier 1?
Probably ESL Pro League, I'd say.
Okay.
We finished 3rd to 4th. It was in Düsseldorf in Germany. And yeah, just the overall experience was very good there.
Fair enough. On the other side, if professional CS:GO kind of wasn't an option for you anymore, if you can no longer be a professional player, what do you think you'd do? What would be your next steps? Do you have any idea what you could end up doing?
very interesting question. I mean, naturally, streaming comes into mind.
Of course.
But if I'd had like, I don't know, like another job,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe even a teacher.
Okay, all right, fair enough, fair enough. So for you individually, we mentioned you joined Sangal. There's no expectations from the org, but what do you expect from yourself? What are you looking to achieve in this next year?
I mean, obviously there's expectations from the org, but maybe not right now at the start. But I think we definitely can reach top 30, and that's a personal goal of mine.
And is it for you to kind of get this Sangal team to be considered within tier 1, or be one of those teams that's kind of a fringe tier 1, tier 2 side? You look towards kind of Entropic and Copenhagen Flames, who both compete in the tier 2 tournaments, but then also tier 1. Is that sort of the goal you're looking for?
Yeah, that's of course the goal is to go even higher than that. But I think that's a pretty reasonable goal to be in that range. Yeah.
And then for you individually, kind of what are your long-term goals? Some players say, I want to be, HLTV top 20 player. I want to, win a major. Kind of what do you want to achieve? Because everyone has a different thing that is their all-time goal.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really care about those individual top player things. I just want to win stuff. Obviously, winning a major is a goal that every player has. And it would be very, very nice. But also winning like a major tournament in Sweden would be so cool. Like for example, there was like DreamHack Masters Malmö. And yeah.
And of course, sort of the last question on the CS:GO section: is there ever a chance that we're going to see you again playing for the tier 1 version of NIP? Are we ever going to see you back after the end of this loan potentially?
I mean, there's always a chance, but it's not something I can say right now. It's definitely
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I wanted to kind of go on to sort of your personal life, like growing up. What was life like for you growing up? What did you like to do? Where did you grow up? All of those good things.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town outside of Gothenburg, Bildal, it's called.
Okay.
And yeah, I played a lot of sports. I played football, badminton, also did taekwondo for a while.
Okay, sure.
And yeah, I was pretty active with sports. Yeah, I don't know what more to say.
Fair enough. And of course, nowadays it's pretty busy being a sort of a full-time pro. But do you have any sort of hobbies or interests outside of esports that they like to do like nowadays?
Not really. Obviously, I like to hang out with friends, but also play other games from time to time.
For sure. What is a sort of a daily routine look like for you? What is kind of I mean, give you one for example with an official. What do you like to do in terms of in a day?
When we have official, I like to like almost as soon as I wake up, I like to go out, mostly to get some fresh air, but also like the sunlight. I think it really wakes you up. Maybe watch some demos of the opponent if I haven't done it the day before. Play some pugs. After I've deathmatched for a while, and then before the game, half an hour before, pop an energy drink and be ready to shoot some heads.
Love to say. What is your sort of warm-up routine as well? I mean, I know every different player has a different thing they like to do. Zywu doesn't even warm up; he just plays pugs. What is your sort of warm-up?
I don't have anything set. I deathmatch. I play in bots. I just play deathmatch until I feel like I'm ready.
Yeah, so it's sort of more a mental thing when you mentally sort of feel like you're ready to go in.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And on the other side as well, was it ever hard for you to have a conversation with your parents to say like, okay, I want to go full time as a pro. I want to give this a go. Was that ever a tough conversation?
No, not really. It was pretty natural as well because I was still in school for my last term. when I joined Young Ninjas. So after that, it was pretty natural to just fully focus on that.
Yeah.
And I was able to. And as I said as well, my parents are very supportive, and they understand. So yeah.
Do they ever watch any of the games?
Yeah.
Nice.
My dad watches a lot of games
Nice.
when I play.
And on the other side, you know, with the RMR now, you're going to Malta. How does it feel to be able to kind of travel to a place like Malta, a nice country like that, in terms of kind of competing in your dream?
Yeah, it feels very nice. I mean, Malta, never been there, but supposedly it's very nice. So gonna be happy to see that with my own eyes. But most important, like what I'm most excited for is to meet the team for the first time.
Oh, true. Yeah. So have you not met any of them in person yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay, that's gonna be pretty interesting. And kind of on that note, what is kind of the best place that you've ever visited, whether it's esports related or not?
The best place I've ever visited, we actually went there twice with the family because it was so good, is Guadeloupe,
Okay.
an island in the Caribbean.
Nice, fair enough. That's a rogue one. I like it. Well, now we'll move on to sort of the kind of Twitter and Reddit questions and some of those. So I'll start with one which you're gonna have to give me a bit of context here. But Lake asks, "How's your Birmingham accent?" He's very curious.
Yeah, when I played in some UK teams before, or with some UK players at least. And yeah, I just started putting on a Birmingham accent sometimes.
Fair enough.
I'd say it's pretty good, to be honest.
Do you want to give us a little go?
Not sure. Maybe not that good.
Fair enough. How did kind of your introduction with UK teams come about? How did that come? Because you know the UK scene is generally seen as pretty small. How did you get involved with UK players?
I think it started with just playing ESEA. I think my first team might have been a team where I just okay. So I think my first UK team or UK team, it was
Sure.
2 UK players. It was with Messi, Ash,
Nice.
Jane, and Izo.
Decent team.
So how that came about was that I just played an ESA pug, and they needed one more player, and yeah.
Fair enough. And from there, you kind of, I mean, Messi's a pretty good person to learn from as well. Do you think as someone like him, who's of course in tier 1 now, is someone for you who you've learned a lot from since you played with him for quite a while?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think I learned more from Ash.
Okay.
I really like Ash as a person. He was very nice to play and work with.
Nice.
But yeah, we only played for like 1 season together, so and it wasn't that serious.
Sure. Fair enough.
But yeah, I think that was my introduction to UKCS.
Yeah.
Then I went on and played in some teams with Swaggy.
Love Carl, what a man. Well. Yeah, what a guy. So another one, quite an interesting one. Do you prefer playing in teams that are English speaking or Swedish speaking?
No, I definitely prefer Swedish speaking. I mean, it's my mother tongue, and I think everyone will say the same answer. Yeah. But I don't, as I said, I can speak English, and I'm not uncomfortable when I speak English in game either. So it's not an issue at all. But I'm more comfortable with Swedish, of course.
Yeah. Would you say as well, not that you're sort of uncomfortable in English, but you think, you know, like maybe a little bit slower to kind of translate from Swedish into English than to say it in the server, that kind of thing?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, fair enough.
No.
Okay, sure. Another one. So with how things have been and the recent success of Sangal, once the loan is up, if it was completely your decision, would you prefer to stay with the team?
It's not something I can say now. I mean, in 1 year,
we'll see.
Hopefully, I'll feel that way. Hopefully, we've gotten that far that I feel that way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And someone else asked him, sort of, who recommended you to join Sangal, and how was the transfer process? Was it pretty seamless or what?
It was pretty smooth. Obviously, coming from a loan from an IP, both yeah, from my perspective, it's pretty smooth from both organizations.
Mhm.
And obviously Eduardo, my agent, doing a very good job.
Nice.
But yeah, who recommended me? It wasn't really anyone that recommended me. Obviously, I got the offer. I've had my eyes on them, obviously, since
Mhm.
qualifying from the for the last RMR, and I thought, yeah, it's a good team. With me joining as well, maybe we can go even further.
Nice. I like that. I like that. And on the other side, you look towards kind of for Sangal. Was it the only team at the time that you had offers from, or did you have maybe potentially any other offers, and Sangal was the best fit?
Uh, More offers. I had some offers that didn't go through.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, at the end it became Sangal, and I'm really happy about that decision.
Nice. Now another one here. This one was from Reddit, and I don't really know the kind of the history or the backstory behind this. Did a little googling, couldn't really find too much. But someone asked, "What do you think about Sangal and their Wonder Kid policy?"
Uh, Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we can skip that question.
Yeah.
I just don't know
Not a
what
clue either.
it
Not
means,
a
to be
clue.
honest.
Yeah. So, what was it like playing with big names like Rez and Hampus, Plopsky? You mentioned S Tag as well, Device, all of these people. Like, this is what Reddit wants to know. What was it like playing with those kind of names?
Uh, I mean, it's obviously it's big to play with those kind of names.
Mhm.
Also, those persons. I mean, they were all very welcoming, welcoming me into the team and stuff. So I felt pretty comfortable with them, and yeah, it's just great to play with such good players. I mean, yeah.
As you're both AWPers as well, do you think Device that you learned a lot from him? I know, of course, kind of you came in when he was kind of had to step away, and vice versa. But for someone in terms of prac and in terms of looking over his shoulder, was he someone that was really good to learn from?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Device, I think, is the example for a lot of hoppers.
Mm.
Someone who doesn't rely on individual skill as much as maybe Simple or Saibu,
Hmm.
but someone that you can really take a lot from if you watch a Device game.
Yeah. And
How he
what is he
positions
like?
himself and everything. What he's like as a person.
Yeah, that's another one people are
I
very
mean,
interested in.
I haven't met him that many times, but
Mhm.
from my personal experience, he's just, yeah, very very nice person, very
Fair
humble.
enough. Do we ever think do you ever think we're gonna see Device back, or when?
I hope so. I
I
hope
hope
so.
so. Love to see it. Love to see it. For you, when was the moment you realized that you could go pro? Was it kind of when Young Ninjas wanted to pick you up, or did you have that belief kind of even before Young Ninjas came about?
Um, when I realized it, it was probably with Young Ninjas.
Sure.
When I thought I could do it, it was before.
Hmm.
I mean, maybe even winning my first small tournament, like just winning my, like just the first time I made something out of playing,
Yeah, yeah, for
probably.
sure, for sure. And kind of on that topic, how sustainable is life under a sort of a tier two salary, so to say? So I guess Sangal and Young Ninjas are kind of in the same boat. How sustainable is life under those kind of salaries? Of course, tier ones you can get great salaries there, but tier two is not really spoken about that much.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on where you live.
Hmm.
In Sweden, it's quite expensive to live.
For sure.
I'm still living at home, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's decent.
Fair enough. Is there any other sort of Swedish players out there who you believe kind of haven't been given a chance yet but deserve it? Like they're good enough, but they haven't really had kind of the opportunity to play for maybe an academy side, or you just really think they're sort of criminally underrated?
That's a hard question, actually.
Okay.
One player that I still think is very underrated is Ne0. I think
Yes.
he's
Yeah.
one of the best players in Sweden, especially at his age. Like, yeah, he's very good.
Hmm. Fair enough.
Um, Maxter, I was a bit surprised about. He's playing for Young Ninjas now.
Hmm.
I think he's very very good. And from when I stood in with them for a while, I played some tournaments with him. He always stood out to me. Very good player.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And of course, the sort of the penultimate question. Someone asked, how does it feel to play with the Giga Chad Corey?
It feels good to play with Corey, and it feels good to play with everyone in Sangal now. Think we really found each other pretty quickly. Always good vibes in TeamSpeak, and yeah.
Nice. Is it ever sort of not an issue, but like a slightly more difficult? As of course, you know, Sangal is a completely mixed national roster. There's two German guys. You know, you got yourself, you got Soulfly as well on top. There's multiple different kind of countries that you're all from. Does that ever cause any issues in terms of, you know, maybe communication breaking down, or in terms of language barrier, anything like that?
Not really. I mean, if someone has any issue as well, Tuguk's the coach. He's also Turkish and German, so he can always explain, yeah, to everyone except for me and Corey, of course.
For sure, for sure. With of course, you know, you mentioned that there's the two German guys in the roster. If, for example, it's a clutch and it's just those two alive, do they switch back to German?
Yeah, if it's only them two alive, they can speak German in the clutch. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. And of course, the final question that someone was interested in: would you ever be tempted to make the switch to Valorant if you got, you know, a very good offer over in Valorant? Would you ever be tempted to make that switch?
No.
No, never.
I mean, it's not really a game that I enjoy, to be honest.
Fair enough. And you've given it a go.
Yeah, I played a bit in the beta, and then I actually played a tournament with some friends.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really go that good, but yeah, it's not really a game I enjoy, to be honest. Like, of course, anyone would consider it if it's a life-changing amount of money.
Very true.
But yeah, it's not something I would want to do.
Do you ever think the esports gonna kind of catch up to CS as well?
In Valorant?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it might, to be honest, just because it's easier to market.
True.
It's more cartoonish, or how to say. It's not as dark as someone from the outside could see CSS with the terrorists fighting,
exactly.
except for cartoon characters. So it is easier to market, for sure, Valorant. So it might catch up, I don't know.
For sure, for sure. And the last question I want to ask, if you could kind of make any changes to CSGO right now, what would it be and why?
That's a hard question.
I know some people, of course, don't like Mirage. I personally don't think it's that bad. I think Dust 2 is way worse. But, or, you know, certain things, like people saying the M4 awareness is a little bit too overpowered now.
Yeah, I think either. I mean, they gotta do something with the M4s, right?
Okay, sure, yeah.
It's always kind of been like, one is just better. You have to use it, but in my opinion, it should be more about personal preference, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe, I mean, there's a lot of options, like maybe being able to buy both in game.
Swap between the two, kind of in game.
Yeah, or yeah, just balancing them out so they're both equally playable.
Fair enough.
And then in terms of map in CS, I'd like to see a removal of Vertigo, actually. I don't think it's a good map at all.
Okay,
no.
And then what would you bring in then? What would you change?
It's hard to say what to bring in. I mean, the new Tuscan just released with the I mean, I don't think they reworked it really. They just updated the
graphics and stuff.
The texture.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe if you fix that map more, I think it needs some changes for sure. But honestly, the old cache.
Oh, what a map! What a map!
Yeah, I don't think they ever should have reworked it.
It's too green now. It's just too green. It doesn't run properly either. So
yeah. I mean, the angles are also very different. Like, it just feels irregular now.
Yeah, spot on. I miss old cache, the good old days. Well, that concludes all of our questions. So, Phzy, first of all, thank you very much for joining me, mate. Congratulations on qualifying for the RMR. I'll be rooting for you out in Malta. I'm hoping to see good things.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, cheers for coming by. Of course, everyone at home, thank you very much for watching as well. Make sure to, of course, check out Phzy. His @ is below. You can see it below his head. And all the links are in the description as well. So, thanks for coming by. Make sure to follow, subscribe, all the good stuff. And we'll see you all soon. Peace out.